Before we dive into this episode, I just want to let you know, if you want to get access to episodes before anybody else, head on over to patreon.com/concerts that made us. And as a bonus, you'll get access to videos of some of the episodes and a host of other benefits. We've also teamed up with Band Builder Academy to offer you 10% off their membership. Details of both can be found in the show notes below.
Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Welcome to the podcast, Concerts That Made Us. Interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and the cheering crowd sound. It's concerts, concerts that made us, concertsthatmadeus.com.
This is Paul and Jason from Chaos Doctrine, and you are listening to the Concerts That Made Us.
That define my reality.
Phil and Jason, you're very welcome to Concerts That Made Us.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having us. It's great to be here.
Yes, thanks, Brian. We appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to diving into your music now. So you released One of My Bad Days on 21st of July. What can you tell us about it?
Well, that was released just after our previous single, which was Martyr. That was more of a slower, more atmospheric, dark type song. So for us, we thought to go back to old school influences, if you can call it that, and go back to very fast and with a bit of groove in there. Thrashy, yeah, that's it. And we decided to go back to what we like doing most, which is playing fast. So that was our latest release. That is going to be on our next album, which we hope to release before the end of this year. So we released, I think, 2 singles off that album, with One of My Bad Days being the second release.
Right. And considering it's about a mass murderer relaying his crimes, I take it you don't write from a personal point of view.
Yeah, this one, it is, it's a fictional account of a mass murderer / serial killer who basically, he has no remorse for anything he's done. He doesn't feel anything about it. So basically, I think what in our society you'll call pure evil.
Right. That's good to hear. I was getting worried I was going to have some major admission on the podcast or something.
Maybe you'll have to talk to Daniel about that one. Yeah, but I don't think one of us. Yeah.
Daniel wrote the lyrics, as Phil said, purely fictional, but Daniel has quite a vivid imagination. So
that'd come in handy with lyric writing, all right.
Exactly.
And the track made it to Metal Hammer top 10 best new songs. How does it feel when you get that kind of recognition?
Man, we're just as surprised as you are. Although we say that last year we had with Martyr, we had a very similar situation, but it was with the more atmospheric, prettier kind of song. Now we've gone a bit more balls to the wall, back to the roots, thrashy, and we're back in that position, and it feels effing great. It really does.
Yeah, I agree with that. That is it's really great to get that recognition again, and we hope that we can get some votes in for that song and get that to the top.
Right. And when it comes to making new music, then what does the process look like for the band? Is it totally a collaborative effort?
It's Alec, Phil, and Daniel that sort of collaborate, put the music together. Me being the drummer, I'm also fairly new in the band. I've been around for 18 months, almost 2 years. I come as like a fresh set of ears, but the core of the band is those 3 guys, and they sort of put most of it together. I just make it more brutal.
Yeah, before Jason joined, we did have quite a long period without any drummers, so it was us 3 working on songs and so forth for quite a long time. But now with Jason joining, as I said, it does bring a fresh air into it, and he does put his input into our music now as well. So that is great going forward. The usual process that we write songs with, we would start with me or Alec would write a riff, and then Daniel he's really good at building songs and song structures. So when we'll get some riffs together, and he'll start working on some structure, and then he would start thinking about what samples and industrial elements and percussion he wants to add to that song. So that is the usual standard way that we do it. Sometimes we do it the other way around, where we add, or Daniel will come up with something electronic, and then me and Daniel would try and write some riffs over that. And then after we're happy with the song and everyone is giving the inputs, then usually Alec would sit and mix and master that. That is where his expertise comes in.
I see. And as you mentioned, it's the second single of your upcoming album. At this stage, what can you tell us about the album?
We've got all the songs written and recorded. So we're probably about maybe 85% done on it. So as I said, Alec is busy working on that. And we're hoping to get that out before the end of this year or maybe early next year. And that will be our third album. That's our third album that we're bringing out. And yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I think we really stepped it up a notch on this one, recording wise and then sound quality wise and songwriting. So I think for me, this is going to be a big one.
And, you guys are hailed by Metal Hammer as one of the 10 African metal bands challenging heavy metal, and by World of Metal as one of the top 20 industrial metal bands of 2021. What does that mean to you guys, and how do you actually get a band to that level?
Wow. Look, there aren't many bands nowadays with the industrial moniker, especially in the metal scene. I mean, globally, when you think of industrial nowadays, you're thinking of hardcore techno and maybe old school Ministry and Fear Factory, etc. I mean, Fear Factory is still kind of around, but there aren't many bands nowadays with the industrial influence in their music, and we are one of them. We're proud of it.
It's an absolute honor to get that recognition. That's what we've been working on for all these years. I think also what we try to do is, as much as I like my old school death metal, you can't keep on playing that like from the 90s. You have to do something new. So I think that is where we
different.
You have to bring something new every album, and I think that is something that we do focus on. And as I say, that to get that kind of recognition from international magazines is really quite an honor.
Oh, definitely an honor.
Yeah, definitely. It is. And, I know the rock scene in South Africa is quite small, but what is the metal scene like?
It's even smaller.
Really?
It's even smaller.
It's quite, the fan base is really minimal. It's, I think if we play, how many people we play? Maybe at an average gig, maybe 50 or 200. That is the usual
50, 60 people. We're headlining a festival in Cape Town on Saturday. This coming Saturday. And that's 200 to 300 people.
The big festivals, they do come. We do play to some crowds, but the normal gigs that we play is 50, 60 people, and then every now and then there's a festival.
Yeah, like I said, 300 people. It's not that big in the global scale. South Africa, that's huge.
Right. And at this stage, I suppose we'll dive into your early influences to see where you came from. Now, it's a bit of a tricky one, but can you tell us your earliest musical memory?
I can tell you mine.
Okay.
There's maybe I'll name 3 bands from when I was very, very young. The first band I ever heard was, well, not that I ever heard, but I ever had a cognitive thought of this is music that I like was Dire Straits.
Ah.
The very next band was Iron Maiden.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a leap.
So yeah, it completely is. And that was within like 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? From when I was like 7 years old.
For me, I think, when I was little, I always used to, I'm talking about like 7, 8 years old, always, I would think of bands like Bon Jovi and Def Leppard and and all the rock bands I've always liked music with guitars and bass and instrumental music, and then from there it kind of just got heavier and heavier. And I think the album that changed everything for me was Megadeth's Peace Sells, But Who's Buying. I think that's the one that got me into the more extreme side of the metal, and yeah, it just got heavier and heavier from there.
And what was the point then, or what happened that made you guys realize you wanted to be musicians?
I think listening to those albums and just loving those albums, because back then there was no streaming or downloading. You had to go buy your CD, and you listened to that CD a lot, and just wanted to collect more music. And I think that as you get into that music, you just wanted to be a part of it as well. And I think that's where you start picking up a bass or a guitar, and I think that's it for me.
Exactly. That was, I mean, the mid to late 90s was, I think, where most of us in this band started. Okay, some folks are a bit older, early to late 90s is where we decided, look, we're into the music. This is what we want to do. We want to be these guys. And I mean, I started originally. I was a bass player, like full. We wanted to be Slayer with death vocals, and I realized I'm not as good a bass player. Our drummer sucked at the time, so I managed to hold a beat. And that was 27 years ago. And on that note, when you're talking about influences, Nicholas Barker, he's probably one of my biggest influences in extreme metal drumming ever. And the poor man is sitting on kidney dialysis at the moment. So I just want to say, if you can get onto the link on the GoFundMe, just help the man out, send a few pounds to the guy. He's one of the most influential drummers on the planet, and he's going through a health crisis. So yeah, please help.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed that quite a lot over the last couple of years. These kind of legendary musicians, something happens in their life and they have to put up a GoFundMe. And you'd imagine that when they get to that level that, they're rich almost, So
the thing is, nowadays, because of the whole streaming society, the whole culture that we're in now, musicians don't make money like they used to. It's just as simple as that. It's especially not in the metal scene. The pop scene, people are still making millions, but the record companies take, and the streaming platforms take all the money, and now venues all over the world want merch, percentage of the merch sales, and it's ridiculous. It's been turned upside down, and it's difficult. It's difficult for musos that are doing it for a living. You know what I'm saying? Luckily, most of us have day jobs as well. It helps us survive. But I mean, globally, people are struggling.
Yeah, the 80s and 90s were the perfect era to make money in music. I think even the metal bands made lots of money back then. And it's just kind of declined over the years. And you see more bands touring now, playing live, and but it doesn't seem like there is enough money. As you said, you see a lot of these GoFundMe pages. So yeah, especially in metal, there's just not. I don't know. I don't know if there's not enough people listening or what it is, but it is quite it's quite sad, as you say, to see these pages coming up, and I don't know what the answer is to that, but the money's not there as it used to be in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. I was only thinking the other day, obviously, about the strike with all the actors and everything in Hollywood. I imagine if that could be the solution for musicians, it would be great. But I'd imagine, it'd be like nobody'd put any pass on them. if every musician in the world just went on strike, the record labels would quite possibly turn to AI or something like you see on TikTok with all these songs.
Yeah, as you said, everyone has to be involved for that to work, and it could actually work. The things need to change, because I think even on like the online playlists and websites that you submit the music to, they get like a tiny fraction of the.
You know, the artist gets a tiny fraction. If you're signed to a label, they get a bit more of a fraction, and the streaming company gets the bulk. It's just not like it used to be, man. The artists need to reap their rewards for the work that they're doing. So, but anyway, that's not what this interview is about. Let's talk metal.
Yeah, we were getting a bit sidetracked there.
Yeah, sorry about that. We apologize.
No, not your fault. And as a concert goer, then what concerts would you say have made you guys?
Okay, well, look. I mean, I've been around in the South African music scene. I mean, I'm a metalhead first and foremost, but I play in one of the largest rock bands in the country at the moment. And I've played in a few bands. I've opened for Wishbone Ash, which inspired Iron Maiden. I've played shows with Alien Ant Farm when they toured. So when it comes to the rock side, going to concerts, I've been there. Metallica, I think I've been here twice. I think I went in 2006. Iron Maiden have been here twice. I went in 95. So when I was a teenager. So, but when it comes to live concerts, Iron Maiden is probably the be all and end all when it comes to live concerts, because those guys they've just always performed. They've just always put everything out there, and they've done it themselves without any external help.
Yeah, I think for me, it will be Iron Maiden as well. Yeah, as we grew up, we had a few bands coming in every now and then. I think we had Metallica and Korn and Sepultura. And it was only since I think 2012 to 2015 about we had quite a big influx of international bands coming in. So we saw Cataclysm and Behemoth, Ministry, Rammstein, Iron Maiden, probably about 30 or 40 bands that came in. Yeah, that was amazing. But I think as we're coming back to the fan base, it's quite expensive to bring these bands over, and yeah, it's a lot of money and a lot of hard work, and I don't know if the promoters always get their money out.
Yeah, I mean, that was all Alec and Sean from Wish Doctor, and Alec did most of the graft, to be honest.
Yeah, that is
that was
Alec,
difficult.
Yeah, that is Alec, our current guitarist. He brought over a few bands as well, and yeah, we saw firsthand. It's a lot of work, and but yeah, that was an amazing time. That I think Septic Flesh was one of the best during that Witchfest weekend.
And as you mentioned, Cataclysm. I mean, we had Cannibal Corpse, we had Behemoth, we had Epica, we had. It was amazing, and for South Africa, that's no one comes here. You know what I'm saying?
And also, watching those bands, just witnessing the professionalism that they bring. That also it helps us a lot as well, just to see that professionalism on stage and to see how things should be done.
Actually, on a side note, one of the best live shows I've ever seen in my life was Flesh God Apocalypse in a tiny little club in Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu Natal. You know what I'm saying? In like, and there were a bunch of South African bands before, but as soon as their sound engineer came, he did something, and it was like listening to the album at 11. You know what I'm saying? On the amp. It was tight, and we were just blown away. And at the time, even then, I was like, these guys look like giants on stage, but I'm at least 6 years older than all of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when they came here, when they played in Johannesburg as well, when Fresh God Apocalypse played in Johannesburg as well, I must admit it was very professional, and it was quite something to see. Along with Septic Flesh was another one. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
man. I think a lot of those guys are like all in their 20s, and we were in our like late 30s already. So
Right, right. And considering then that the metal scene is so small, when big bands like that come to South Africa, is there much of a crowd there?
yes, yes, there was major turnout for those shows, especially it was like a global first. I mean, we had people camping in the middle of Joburg central business district, where it's like the crime capital of the world, and people camped in the middle in the park across the road from the venue. You know what I'm saying? It was
Crap.
in the middle of a war zone, basically. It was amazing.
Right. Sounds like quite the experience.
Yeah, it really was.
And, I'm looking forward to hearing about this now. For any listeners that haven't caught one of your shows, what can they expect? Lay it all out for them.
Um, okay. Brutality, melody, industrial doofs and clangs, loads of blast beats, triggered double bass, one of the heaviest bass guitar sounds you've ever heard. Guitar riffs for days and brutal vocals.
I think we also try to bring a visual element to our shows as well. Sometime if the venue allows it, we do have some screens on and some background images that we created ourselves that we play behind us on stage. We have some outfits, and we've got a Daniel's mic stand, which is the most photographed member of the band. So we do like to bring a visual element to it as well.
Right, right. And what needs to happen at a gig for you guys to walk off the stage saying, that was one of the best we've ever done?
I think it's always the crowd that allows that. As you know, the band feeds off the crowd, and then the crowd feeds off the band. So I think it's always, if there's a good amount of people and they're having a good time, then you get into that zone, and I don't know, just everything just clicks into place, and then that adrenaline works. So I think for me, the crowds are the most important part. They feed us.
Yes, I completely agree with Phil, but I think as well, we've become a band of brothers. So as long as the four of us are having fun on stage, whether there's one oak or 20,000 oaks, we're still going to come off stage going, that was a great gig.
And how do you work on your performance then? Because I'd imagine it is extremely energetic. Do you put in that amount of energy when you're rehearsing to perfect it?
Yeah, that's exactly why it's not called practice anymore. It's called rehearsal. Because we practice at home and we rehearse in the studio.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. You have to practice the way that you are going to play on stage. So we do actually, not as much intensity, but we definitely do, take it quite seriously during practices.
Yeah. Exactly. There is a bit of choreography involved, although we're not like pop dancers or anything. But there's choreography, and there's uniformity, and but we still need to be tight. We need to still have fun, but there is a bit of like I said, uniformity in the stage show as such. Professionalism is another word.
And also, we do need to focus on our practices because we do play to click on stage because we do have a lot of samples and percussion and loops and so forth. So that is very important. And I think Jason is a really important part of that as well to stay on click because some parts of the song there's a loop that comes in and you have to be on that click exactly, or else it's not going to sound right. So that is why the practicing is really important.
Exactly. In a song, a certain thing happens at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and then another bit happens at 4 minutes and 26 seconds, and we all need to be on time at that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to make sure that happens. So,
And out of all the gigs that you guys have played, is there an experience you revisit in your mind as maybe the most perfect gig?
I wouldn't say the most perfect gig, but I think the most of us would agree that when we toured Bloemfontein, that was quite a special gig for us. Just the people there also, it's on the it's in another province. It's not as big as the big city centers like Johannesburg and Cape Town. So they don't get a lot of even South African metal bands going there. So I think that one stands out for us a lot. The crowd was just so insane, and they really looked forward to us going there. And they don't get a lot of metal down there, so that was really something for us. And with this next tour to Cape Town this weekend, we're hoping to get the same kind of feeling on that.
To be honest, I think we might surpass that because we're kind of asked very violently to do this one. So
and we have come a long way since then. So I think we have come a long way since then. So I think the crowds are going to be pleasantly surprised.
Oh yeah,
good to hear.
Totally agree.
And to flip it around then, not to get too negative, but is there a gig experience you've had that is maybe the worst, and how did you deal with it?
The one show at the milk farm where there was just feedback for days. And no one knew why, no one knew how, but there was just feedback. And that was probably one of the worst.
I think before Jason joined, we did play one gig where, we got, we packed the truck with all the equipment. We arrived there. We packed all the equipment onto the stage, and we went out. The car was stolen. So that was, I think, one of our...
The car was stolen. I didn't tell me about that.
Yeah, it was Daniel's truck, yeah. Luckily, we got all the equipment out because else all that would have been lost. I don't think we even played that gig. Sometimes it happens now and then where there's sound issues. So that is something to work with. But
I was talking about sound issues, not crime.
Yeah,
But then again, this is South Africa.
South Africa,
Right. And apart from sound issues and crimes, what kind of antics do you guys get up to while you're on tour?
We're getting old now. We're very calm.
Right.
Yeah, there's some. I think most just maybe some drinking involved and some partying. I think nothing too hectic. As Jason said, we're getting a bit old now.
And we're all in our mid to late 40s.
Approaching 50.
Right, you need to keep the energy for the stage, so.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when it comes to showtime then, what's your pre-show and post-show ritual? How do you psych yourself up, and then afterwards, how do you wind down?
Well, from our side, for instance, I'm just getting over a major flu. It's been like a week and a half of just feeling horrible. I've now got to go play a show at sea level. So I've got a lot of warming up to do before the show. So for half the day, I'm going to be sitting with a double bass pedal against a pad or a couch or whatever I can get my hands on, and just working the muscles and doing the breathing exercises so that I can perform properly. So the thing is, it becomes, especially when we get to our age, you kind of, it becomes a workout, and to maintain that, you've got to keep fit and keep healthy. Back in my 20s, when I used to do the stuff, it was a lot easier. There's a lot of work involved, but mentally as well, you've got to focus. Otherwise, you can't do this. Simple as that.
I like to go, just watch the bands playing before us, just go into the crowd and kind of get a vibe for what's happening there. And I like to watch the other bands. And afterwards, I think, after we've packed up everything, which is quite a job, we think we mostly just sit down and have a whiskey or a bourbon and for a few hours. And I think that's the way we wind down. But for me, I like to stand in front of a stage and watch the other bands before us and just get into that vibe.
Okay. And, when it comes to your career, how do you measure success?
Well, look, in the country we live in, this is a semi-professional hobby for us. We all have jobs. So we do the 9 to 5, we do the grindstone to pay the bills and everything, and other guys play golf. We play industrial thrash / death metal.
Sounds a bit extreme when you put it like that.
Yeah, I think for us, as we mentioned earlier, the recognition in the like Metal Hammer and World of Metal and things like that, especially the overseas international sites. I think that is where we want to measure our success. Apart from playing a really good gig, I think we try to get some international exposure.
I like it. And, in 30 years' time, you guys are up on stage with the Zimmer frames. What needs to have happened with your career for you to feel fulfilled and happy?
Oh, that's a good one.
I might not be playing 16th notes on the kick drum anymore, but I'll most certainly still be playing blues. Or reggae, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we'll be approaching 80 by then, so I think we'll be more of a rock band.
Yeah, it's also we're not Motley Crue, so we'll probably still be alive by then.
Yeah. To answer your question, that is a really good question. I think, as I mentioned before, international exposure. I think recognition. That's the main thing. Just getting bigger and bigger, and a lot of albums. I think we're really good in our studio recordings. So I think some good albums, maybe about 8 or 10 albums by then. That will be great.
Yeah, man. Like Paul was saying, a bit of recognition is nice, but end of the day, we do it because we love it. It's not. We're not doing it to become famous rock stars. Or to be honest, this band keeps me humble. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and he's right as he says, and it's every week when you gig, that's that outlet that the band does bring to you after a hard week of work. So that is part of it, and the brother.
It's a release, man.
Yeah, and the brotherhood in the band. It's these guys are our friends, and so there's that as well, apart from the recognition.
I gotcha. And before we dive into the last couple of questions, so you've told us about the upcoming gig at the weekend. You've told us about the album. Is there anything else for the rest of the year you'd like to share?
I think we just have that big open air rock festival, Jason, in September, and then we'll probably look at playing a few smaller gigs after that.
No. Yeah, I think it's there's that. Well, you say rock festival, it's rock / metal fest. There's like 60 bands. Yeah, I think we're doing that, and then I think around November we've got another international band coming through, which we're probably playing with a few other bands, a few other names in South Africa, other bands. Like last year, we played. Who was it? Kraftpal from Switzerland.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they were just awesome. It's like anti-fascist black metal. Folks with big ass dreadlocks and a female bass player, and they were just brutal as hell. but yeah, but they are great.
So we're looking at playing some gigs, after the tour and the rock festival. But for the majority of we'll be recording the album, or not recording, just putting the final touches on that album, to hopefully get that out as soon as possible.
And then we're starting to write the next one.
Exactly, yeah. And then next year we'll probably look at changing our set list, our live set list, to include most of the songs on this album, and
new ones as well, we guess. But again, we're not Iron Maiden. We don't tour the world and play 28 shows in a week. We play like 6 a year. So.
Right. Okay. Well, sounds like there's still plenty to look forward to for the rest of the year anyway.
No, of course. I mean, you remember Mayhem back in the early 90s? They played like one show in 10 years. We play more, you know?
Oh man. Right, we'll dive into the last couple. These are a few random, odd questions, but I'm intrigued to see your answers. If you could see any performer from history in concert for one night only, who would it be?
Good question. I would like to see Chuck Schuldiner from Death. That will be one. I'd like to see that. Black Sabbath, and I think Slayer. I've never seen Slayer, so I think that's the band that I most miss out, never seeing them live.
And that would be pretty epic.
Yeah, pretty bummed that I never got to see them. Yeah.
Probably John Bonham doing a drum solo with his hands.
Oh, nice.
It's a good one. It's a good one. This next one now, it's a bit strange, but fun. If you had to spend 24 hours locked in a room with any musician from history, who would it be?
Mozart, because he wouldn't hear a word I say.
Yeah, sometimes I wish I was deaf. No, just kidding.
Right.
That's such good questions. Trying to think. I think Peter Doctrine from Hypocrisy. He looks such a cool guy. So I think that'll be quite cool to do.
Yeah. Two interesting choices there. So, and the final one. So, what song would appear on the soundtrack to your life?
Yeah, that's such a tricky question.
For me, Iron Maiden. Yeah, I'd be Iron Maiden, The Evil That Men Do, Living on a Razor's Edge.
Good choice.
I'll probably go with Slayer.
You're at 213 full.
No. Maybe God Hates Us All.
Yes, so nihilistic.
It is what it is.
Yeah, hairy muff. I mean, fair enough.
Listen, guys, it's been an absolute blast now. I've really enjoyed this one. Thanks a million.
Thanks, man. Appreciate your time and your effort.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks a lot. Really cool.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. And if you're interested in signing up to Band Builder Academy, use the link in the show notes below and enter the code CONCERTS and you'll receive 10% off. So, until next time, keep rocking. Hey, what are you guys still doing here? The show's over. It's over. You can go home. Go on. We'll see you next time. We'll be here. Bye.